Well, the coronavirus and resulting lockdowns have made people a little crazy. Not to mention, it's been hard on relationships, but not for California's Scott Perry. It made him realize he needed to take the next step with his roommate. So he popped the question.
Aww.
Only wrinkle? He's getting married to his cat, Olivia. Oh, I know what you're thinking. That is a strange pairing. But then again, they've been faithful companions, far better than Scott marrying a cheetah.
Governor, that reminds me. My niece, Loretta, is a cat lover. And just last week, I saw where she posted online, my new boyfriend is allergic to my kitten, so I can't keep him. He's a ginger named Tom. Friendly, comes when called, 28 years old and works in IT. Sure didn't see that coming.
Wow.
Yeah. Poor guy's gone.
Hey, Gov, do you happen to know why cats make such good piano players?
Piano players?
Yeah, piano players. Because they are meowsical. Meowsical. You know, little mice pun.
Man.
Oh.
Meow.
No, not really.
Did you understand
That's
that?
terrible.
Huh?
Well, even if Scott's friends, it's terrible. Even if Scott's friends share unbearable puns like yours, Trey, at least Scott is not walking the aisle with this cat who bears a scary resemblance to a former dictator. I'll bet the cat's name is Adolf Hitler. Okay, back to our story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Scott Perry staged the non-binding wedding to help raise funds for Los Angeles' Best Friends Animal Sanctuary, where he adopted Olivia 5 years ago. Now, for the record, when Perry popped the question, the cat responded to the proposed with a meow, which we believe is either cat talk for yes, or it's a typical feline indifference. Anyway, our congratulations to Scott and Olivia, and may you have a minimum of 9 happy lives together. In New York and New Jersey, businesses are turning their parking lots into pop-up drive-in movie theaters. They mark off spaces 10 feet apart, put up giant portable screens, and broadcast the soundtrack over the radio. So it's also bringing back car radios. Now, they show both new movies and old favorites like Grease and Dirty Dancing, although Dirty Dancing sounds like the opposite of social distancing.
Yeah.
Now, I got to tell you, I'm old enough to remember drive-ins, but I sure don't remember that any of us went there to be socially distant from our date. And by the way, at these new drive-ins, they'll even let you use a public bathroom if you put on gloves and a breathing mask, which kind of sounds like a good idea for all public bathrooms all the time.
Governor, speaking of driving, I just read that ladies are now allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, but they can only make left turns. You know why?
No.
No, why?
Yeah, there's no women's rights there.
Oh,
Makes sense
Keith.
to me.
Hey, do you know why illegal immigrants don't like to drive in America during the winter?
No, don't think I
Well,
do.
I'll tell you why. Because they keep seeing all those watch for ice on bridges signs. That's why, yeah. All right. Back to the pop-up drive-in theater story.
Thank you.
I even hear that Governor Gretchen Whitmer might allow drive-in movies in Michigan, but only if the cars are 50 feet apart and your windows are rolled up and you wear masks inside your closed car. And if it is a faith-based movie, everyone gets arrested.
Well, there you go.
Well, if you've ever dreamed of being an astronaut, and most of us have, NASA announced that it's seeking several social isolation experts who will spend 8 months locked in a Russian lab to help collect data for future missions to outer space. Now, I would think that after all the lockdown time that we've had, they shouldn't have any problem finding candidates. And if you make the grade, you're going to live in a closed facility that has challenges similar to what astronauts will experience on Mars. Well, I tell you one thing, they sure won't like eating on Mars. There's no atmosphere.
But Governor, this made me think of a fella who was really socially isolated because he was shipwrecked on an island alone for several years, kind of like Gilligan and his bunch. One day, a Navy plane spotted 3 huts on this little island and sent in a rescue team. Well, when they arrived, they asked one fella, "Where is everybody?" And he said, "It's just me here." So they asked why there were 3 huts. The fellow said, "Well, I live in this one, And that one is where I go to church. So they ask, well, what's the third hut for? And he said, well, that's where I used to go to church before the split.
Oh, Keith, I got to tell you, that joke was so painful.
Wow.
I'm afraid I'm going to Neptune you out on that one. I have to.
I won't name any denominations, but I got an idea.
The study will reveal the psychological and physiological effects that astronauts are likely to face as a result of isolation on these long missions. Candidates do need to be U.S. citizens between the ages of 30 and 55 years old who speak Russian as well as English. And by the way, those who have ever spent time with or been abducted by aliens or probed need not apply.
I can understand.
Hey, you've heard of a bridge too far. How about a bridge too low? Jim Witkowski was driving near the Milwaukee International Airport when he spotted the dump truck driver flying down the highway with his truck bed in the up position and headed straight toward an overpass. Yeah, I have to wonder if any old Milwaukee beer was involved. Well, Witkowski tried to warn the driver, but the driver was moving too fast in his truck. So he did what any of us would do. He took out his cell phone camera and braced for impact. Luckily, the driver wasn't injured, but his dump truck kept going for about 50 feet while the truck bed stayed back at the overpass.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Talk about separation anxiety. I'm wondering if this is the same truck driver who overturned his truck full of Vicks Vapo Rub. Everyone was amazed at that accident, especially since there was no congestion for 8 hours straight. How about that?
Yeah. Traffic reporters love those.
And finally tonight, a stretch of highway in Tennessee was recently covered in 40,000 pounds of macaroni and cheese. It happened on Interstate 24, right here in Nashville. The truck tipped on its side, and the roof of the trailer split open, spilling the delicious contents across the interstate lanes, making the road, wait for it, impostable.
Oh.
Got that?
It was delicious.
So,
I'll have to say.
I guess this also...
good.
Yeah. I guess this also means those new easy open mac and cheese truck trailers are a great success. Now, the truck driver's name was allegedly Sloppy Joe Mix, which I believe speaks for itself. I know if I'd been in town that day, you would have seen me down there with a wheelbarrow and shovel.
Right beside.
By the way, it makes me think of that great Eurythmics song. Sweet dreams are made of cheese.
Yes.
Who am I to disagree? I cheddar the world and feta cheese. Everybody's looking for Stilton.
Wow.
Got that? Okay, I know you're all thinking that song joke could have been great and not so cheesy. Well, Parmesan me. I was trying to do a good job. Oh, well. Like a clock without batteries, we're out of time. But remember,
we read the news.
Now, if you're seeing this, I know you've enjoyed that video. I mean, how could you not, after all? So, you know what you should do? Leave a like, click on the subscribe button below, and hit the notification bell next to it so you'll always know when I have another video up for you to enjoy.